One of the most challenging jobs anywhere is for the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to ensure that the world that we live in is safer. Nuclear standards have to be maintained. The possibility of some accidents needs to be avoided. The entire work of regulation goes down to strict monitoring and compliance, and a sense that nations across the world must follow what the IAEA has to say. We've got a wonderful guest with us. Rafael Mariano Grossi is the global head of the IAEA. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us.
Great pleasure.
The last couple of years must have been, or have been, extremely difficult for you with the situation in Ukraine, and the fact that nuclear reactors over there are right in the middle of the war itself. Have there been occasions when you felt that you were perhaps minutes or hours away from something catastrophic?
A few times, yes. You know that this nuclear power plant, which was occupied in the early hours of the war, has remained in this situation. As you rightly say, it is in the middle or just on the front line, which means that it is extremely fragile.
Zaporizhia, right?
Zaporizhia, exactly. Six nuclear reactors, the biggest in Europe, 6 gigawatts, of installed capacity. And as such, it has been subject to sometimes shelling or more frequently than that, blackouts, which means that loss of cooling function might have led to a nuclear accident. So we are, always counting it by the day. When we have situations like this, we have to be always on alert. We have a permanent group displayed there. They are doing a job in terms of interacting with the management. We are advising, we are reporting, updating on whatever is happening. This group deployed there is doing that, and in every other facility in Ukraine. So as you say, it is an unprecedented situation. Never before has a war been fought and in the midst of a vast civilian nuclear infrastructure. So this is one of the biggest challenges, not the only one, certainly, that we have, but one of the biggest challenges that the IAEA is facing.
The West Asia situation, fingers crossed, might be a little better now with the hostage situation improving, but there was a huge concern that missile barrages might end up resulting in something larger. Many in Israel say that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. Is it the IAEA's belief that that is the case?
No, we don't have any evidence that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. But at the same time, it is true that Iran has accumulated a vast amount of enriched uranium, very high level of enrichment, which makes it very, very close to weapon level grade. And on top of that, we have not been having the full cooperation of Iran in clarifying a few important things about past and perhaps present activities. I am fully engaged, I have to say. We are inspecting. The thing is that we are not inspecting at the levels or in all the places that we believe we should be inspecting. I had the opportunity to visit, I've been very frequently to Tehran, but this time last time, I met with President Pezeshkian, with the foreign minister and others, and we are trying to improve the situation. Of course, now with the change of administration in the United States, there is an expectation that things may be moving again. We are going to be talking to all partners, as we always do, in trying to make or to bring more certainty to this very volatile situation in Iran.
You've seen the Indo-US civil nuclear deal very, very closely. It, in a sense, underpins the strategic relationship between India and America, but it's not really been realized in terms of nuclear reactors being built in India because of the liability clause. In the last few days of the Biden administration, there was a sense that America was trying to push some of their own laws to ensure that there would be a greater understanding between nuclear firms to perhaps build in India. Do you believe that the road has been set or the path has been set to see more American nuclear reactors in India?
Well, it's a good question for my Indian and my American friends. What I can say from my perspective is that the Indian civil nuclear program is one of the biggest, more diverse in the world, with local build, also imports. I mean, India has every technology and masters every technology in a very good way. And I believe that with the current expansion and interest in nuclear energy that we are seeing, we are in a better position, perhaps in the best position ever, to see that those levels of cooperation, trade between the United States and India grow even more. I'm optimistic in this sense.
India has a fast breeder nuclear reactor program. Many say that the technology is fairly advanced. There is a great deal of hope that it would succeed. What are your thoughts on it, and how safe are India's nuclear reactors?
Absolutely safe, I would say. India applies to its civilian nuclear program, the one I see, the highest levels of internationally agreed and IAEA established nuclear safety standards and security guidance. We interact with the Indian nuclear establishment very, very frequently, and so we can see that that is the case. In terms of the technologies, including fast breeders, there is a lot of there's an array of technologies there. Fast breeding technology has been available for some time, and if India so decides, it could be an interesting add-on to its fleet.
India has a moratorium on testing. After we did our tests during the Pokhran tests, Pakistan followed. But there's always a concern, given the volatile neighborhood. What if China were to test again, or what if Pakistan were to test again? Would India therefore be in its rights to perhaps test as well?
Our position, of course, and the position in the international community is that we should move towards a general ban on nuclear testing. So we hope there won't be a need for further testing, neither in the subcontinent nor elsewhere.
India, as a responsible nuclear power, has always felt that we need to be or should be a part of the nuclear suppliers group. Do you believe that that needs to take place?
Well, you know, I myself, I have been president of the nuclear suppliers group 2 terms, and I interacted very actively in trying to bring this to an equitable solution, including other countries that had similar aspirations. Why I say this? Because I consider that all those who are key actors in the nuclear industry should participate in schemes that provide for reliability, credibility in the nuclear industry worldwide. So it's for my successors in those positions to see what can be done. But my interactions, including with Foreign Minister Jay Shankar, were extremely useful. We were very close at that time to a good outcome. Of course, there is a bigger, wider political scene which enters into consideration when it comes to that.
But in your personal opinion, as somebody who's been in this field for so long, India should be a member of the NSG, the Nuclear Suppliers Group?
I think this is for their members to decide. And I, as head of the IAEA, which includes members of the NSG and others who are not members of the NSG, perhaps I should be prudent in what I say. At the same time, as I said, I believe that all relevant actors, and India is a global player in nuclear and in any other activity, human activity, they should be part of the system and the pillars of the system, including the energy.
I had a very interesting interview 3 days back over here in Davos with an American group which is building or prototyping the first fusion nuclear reactor.
Yes.
What's the future there?
Well, fusion has been, there's this quip that fusion is the energy of the future and it will always be. But I think we are seeing that that is not the case, and that the possibility, the prospects for commercial fusion are closer than ever before. We see a lot of private investment in the United States, in Russia, in China, in Japan. In India, we see also groups working in fusion. I have myself established the first World Fusion Energy Group, which was launched in Rome last November with Indian participation as well. So the process is gaining momentum, is very exciting, and my impression is that sooner than many expected, we will see great progress in bringing fusion to the energy possibilities that we have.
What about thorium? Do you believe thorium
Thorium,
fuel?
and in particular in India,
Yes.
there has been a very keen interest, and I'm fully aware of the excellent research and development work that have been taken place, has been taking place in India. At the end of the day, my impression is that this is driven by the costs and the commercial interest in this cycle. India already masters this cycle, but the extraction of thorium, production of thorium, processing of thorium, the operation in the reactor make it so that so far, at least for now, the prevailing view in the market has been that the uranium cycle is more manageable. That doesn't mean that thorium, which holds enormous promise, I would say, will not be used in the future.
A final question, with President Trump yesterday saying that he wants to withdraw from the Paris climate agreement or talks. Do you believe that the future for nuclear power is greater? That, to cut down on carbon emissions, more countries, if possible, need to invest in nuclear?
We are seeing that. We are seeing that already. The fact that the Director General of the IAEA is here in Davos, apart from the strategic issues that we have been discussing, is proof of that. There is enormous interest in the South, in the global South, in America, in China, in your own country, in many countries. So we see that the sources, the reasons why people are turning back to nuclear or are doubling down in nuclear may be diverse. If you look at countries like China or yours, it's the huge economic development that needs to be powered in a sustainable way. If you look maybe in Central Europe, there might be considerations related to energy security and the evolution of the geostrategic situation over there. So it depends. I think when it comes to energy, there is no one-size-fits-all explanation. But one thing we see, there is more nuclear, there is going to be much more nuclear.
All right. Well, Mr. Grossi, thank you very much for speaking to us.
It was a pleasure.
Well, there you have it, the head of the IAEA telling us about India's prospects, the safety of India's reactors, but also how vulnerable and volatile the international situation has been, particularly in Ukraine. Hopefully, nuclear energy can be used for peaceful purposes and for safe purposes as well.